everyone, and welcome back to another Rune Factory 5 guide. Now, we've been doing combat guides for my time at Porsche and Sandrock lately, so you might be expecting the one for Rune Factory as well, but we can't really talk about combat without talking about the skills. So let's get the skills done first, and then maybe a more advanced combat guide another time. So, why are skills so important to combat? Well, to be honest, skills are probably tied, possibly a little more important than your gear even. And the reason for that is because your stats, your attack, your defense, your magic attack, etc., magic defense, are all tied to strength, vitality, and intelligence. Strength, vitality, and intelligence are raised by leveling up your skills. You can see here, I'm mostly a short sword player on this playthrough, and gives increased max road points, and strength will increase with the usage of these skills. But it's not just this skill. All of your skills are going to benefit your combat abilities. Even your crafting skills will increase, here's strength and vitality. Chemistry is going to be intelligence and vitality. Searching raises your intelligence. Walking, it raises vitality. And so on. Every single skill, if you come in here into the skills menu, is going to tell you what it raises. Now, it's not going to tell you how fast it does or how much. You'll see things like this slowly increase max hit points, root points, strength, intelligence, vitality. Increase HP a lot and vitality a little. These kinds of little hints of okay, it does this a lot, does this a little, by some. Little gives you vague hints, but they don't specify, hey, you get this many points to strength for this many levels in a skill. That said, one thing to keep in mind is most skills have an obscenely high skill cap. We're talking, if this is like Rune Factory 4, something in the 10,000 range or multiples of thousands. There are exceptions. There are skills that cap out at level 99. But just as you can see, I'm level 134. This is not like a lot of games where it's like, well, you can, only get to level 99 and blah, blah, blah. And that's it. You can keep leveling up your skills. And in fact, one of the best ways to do that is to get this very accessory I'm wearing right now. It is called a heart pendant. It is both easy and difficult to get, depending on how you acquire it. I talked about it in my relationships guide, which I will link in the description below because I will be referencing it a few times in this video. But one of the things you can do is give 5 crafted items to various characters. If you give them to Terry, he will always give you an accessory. There is a random chance on a table that he will give you the heart pendant. What the heart pendant does is it levels up your skills twice as fast. So it is really, really good to have. It's kind of boring on paper like that, but it's just like an experience booster to anything else. It is so good. And since there is no cap to most skills, or an obscenely high one rather, it's great to have. And because leveling your character level doesn't really do much for you, it really is your skill levels that are going to increase your stats, you want to level them as fast as you can. Now, how do you level your skills? The easy answer is do the thing the skill talks about. If you're walking, you're going to raise your walking skill. If you go to bed at night, your sleeping skill will raise up, and so on. However, that is the most basic level of this. Certain skills are connected to skills and actions that you wouldn't think necessarily, but kind of makes sense when you think about it. So, for example, when you hoe the ground, you're going to raise your farming skill. That makes sense. You can see, hey, farming skill right there, 65. What you may not realize is that hoeing the ground is also going to raise your earth magic skill. Likewise, watering your crops is going to raise both farming and water magic. Now you can see I don't have quite as much water magic. It's a slower thing. But earth magic is also raised by things like mining for your rocks, and there's a lot of things that are tied to that skill. So you're going to see these raised all the time. Love magic, you can see I've got it 62. I don't have any spells that use love magic. I think actually my healing magic does that. But you can get love magic from, using spells that affect your party members, such as healing. I think taming and petting like your animals raises love magic, and so on. So you're going to see skills that are tangentially related be raised. Cooking, for example, will raise your fire magic. And there's other kind of weird things to go. So even non-skill things are connected to your skills. So let's take, for example, here. I have a long sword skill of 1, axe hammer 3, but short sword at 92. My forging skill is at 99. But if I come in here to my weapon bread and I try to eat it, I don't learn anything. I lack weapon or forging experience. It's telling you that right there specifically. My forging skill is maxed out. What I'm lacking is weapon skills for things. So, like, I have all the recipes that I can learn from this for short swords because of my short sword skill, but also for all the other skills. But let's say I take out my longsword here and smack these around a little bit, and you can see I'm raising my longsword skill pretty fast and gaining new abilities for the combat. So I just went from longsword 1 to longsword 5. If I try eating one of those breads now, maybe I'll learn a new recipe. There we go. I learned Zweihander. It was a waste of doing that with just that one thing. But here's another interesting thing. I am wear equipped with my longsword. But if you look at my X button there, it is a spear skill. Now watch what happens when I target this with my spear skill while equipped with my longsword. I am gaining spear skill. So even though I'm using a longsword, because I'm using a spear skill, I'm gaining spear skill experience. And now my spear skill just went from 0 to 5. Or 6 in this case, because I hit so many things. It is a very quick way. Having a configuration like this is a fast way to level up your various weapon skills and your magic skills. I could sit here and cast fireballs if I had a good one. I don't think that's the right one I'm thinking of. This is the one I'm thinking of. And I can just keep doing this, and it's hitting all those targets. And I'm going to raise my fire skill, so 42 and 88%. Cast it 3 times, just got all that. Boom, you can see, boom, I'm leveling that up. So what does that mean for your skills? Well, like I said, your stats, your strength, vitality, and intelligence are directly tied to your skills, as well as your max hit points and max rune points. Because of this, this is a game that is actually harder at the beginning than it is later on. Because another factor of your skills is not only does it increasing your skills increase your max rune points, but it also reduces how much rune points are used to use an action. So let's take, for example, my longsword here. I have 1503 out of 1612. If I swing it, I'm still at 1503 out of 1612. Because this is not a very energy-heavy one. Same with this spell. 1503, now I'm at 1487. The spells are going to use more rune points than your weapons. But if I were to, say, swing a farm tool, again, and this is slightly, you can see I'm leveling my axe and hammer skill with it. 1471. Still not going down. Because I have such high skills. When you're early on, doing your mining, your smashing into rocks is going to use up a lot of your points. But as you level your skills, it's going to reduce the points, which is useful because the higher the tier of your gear is also going to cost more rune points. So, for example, here we are, again, 1471. Oh. I'll smash this several times and try to avoid those. Now I'm at 1461. So you can see I am using up energy on that, and I got these boosts because of my quality of my weapon. So, as you can see, I'm not using a lot of rune points, but early on, you're going to use a ton of rune points just smashing a rock with your low tier. As you level up your gear tier, so as you go from the cheap hammer to the iron hammer to the silver hammer and so on, you'll notice it slightly increases how much you're using, but eventually it'll decrease to the point that you use, I think it's a minimum of 1.1 rune points per action for non-weapons, and as you saw, weapons are basically nothing. So you can absolutely do that. Now, which skills are most important to level? That's going to vary on your playstyle. But because you always want to raise stuff that raises max RP and intelligence, so walking around, you're going to get all the time on your own. Searching is something that you are going to level every time that you open a chest, but it's also if you brought party members or monsters with you, they'll notice something. So like I'm alone right now. Let me take off a certain crest. Let's see. Take that off. I cannot find this hidden object here on my own without a certain crest or a party member. But by finding that hidden object, I increase my search skill. So if I put that crest back on, Onigiri, boom. And my search skill leveled up a little bit, not by much. Because just like with the relationships, this is not a X amount of points get you a level. You know, this isn't like the relationships in, say, My Time at Portia, where 200 points get you a relationship level, or a friendship level. Every level in this requires more and more points, even though the same actions give you the same amount of points. It's like, think of a classic Final Fantasy. That enemy is always going to give you 5 experience. But 5 experience means a lot more at low levels than at high levels. And the more difficult things become, the more points you can get from them, and so on. So, for example, your crafting skills, your crafting, forging, chemistry, and so on, cooking, the higher the level requirement of the recipe you use, the more points you're going to get to it, so the faster you're going to level up the skill. Same thing with fishing. There's certain fish are going to give certain point values. Catching, you're just going to need to use your seal spell, or spell seals they call it here. You know, bartering, every time you sell stuff, you ship it, raises your intelligence. So if I wanted to, say, take my sword here and try to level up my skill real fast here, which I absolutely can. You saw I can just smack it around several times. Let's take a look at what my skills are. So, longsword raises max rune points and strength, but also slightly increases it. I think that what it means is supposed to be max RP and slightly increases max strength. It's a poorly worded translation there. So let's look. My max RP is 1613. My strength is 498. So again, and you can see I'm leveling up plenty fine with this. This is one of the reasons I do this. And I'm gaining new abilities for my combat. As you see, I'm getting dash attacks, I'm getting charge attacks. So leveling up your skills works. But even, leveling up, I'm now at 1614. And my strength is 499. So it's slow. I gained 8 levels there, so it's not a huge increase for that. But, you think all of these weapons, I can spend an entire day doing that, magic defense, max, higher skill levels for water magic, increase your max rune points and reduce rune point consumption. Increase max rune points. So on. So all of these skills, you can see compared to what you start the game with less than 100 rune points and only like 28 or something hit points, even if I take off all of my equipment, okay, I still have really good stats You know, the rune points and hit points aren't really affected by those as much. I mean, they're a little bit, because of things like vitality boosts, which I don't think I actually have on any of my gear right now. Yeah, this one's got an intelligence boost. But you can get the idea. It's, you know, find your skill, level it up, and work on it. And, you know, for your crafting skills, use your recipe cards. Speaking of your crafting skills, and I want to do more in-depth guides on each of these because there's a lot to these systems. But the game kind of teaches you about them a little bit. So, like I said, you know, I just leveled up that skill several times. I can now use my weapon bread to eat and learn how to make lances for the spear recipe, hammers for the hammer recipe, battle axes from the axe recipes, poison blades from long swords. I just got a whole bunch of recipes just because that little bit of messing around here that I was doing, showing you how to do these. And now I'm getting more longsword recipes. And more spear and sword recipes. So I just gained a whole bunch of recipes that I didn't have before. And the thing is, because I leveled those up, they're kind of all over the place a little bit. So let's take a look at where they are in terms of skill levels. You know, 2 up through 31. Whereas if I did while the short swords, you can see 1, 3, 4, 7, 15, 16. It takes a little while longer to get to the 31. You know, fist recipes, I don't have any because I don't have fist skills. Hammer, I got a little bit. Same with axe. Spear, a little bit. So your skill is gonna help a thing, and don't pay attention to this because I made that from thing. You can craft recipes without the recipe. It costs more rune points. Like I looked up this recipe for a weapon for a party member, one of the villagers who uses dual blades that I wanted to bring with me. So you can do that, but crafting, you're gonna need recipes. Or you don't need recipes, well, your character does not need to know the recipe, but you do. So, like, you can look this up online and go, okay, it requires a sapphire or a calcum, viscous liquid, and some kind of sticks and stems. That's a high-level recipe, but you can see, again, forging is level 99. It maxes out. So, your crafting skills are some of the skills that cap out at 99. I could keep making stuff here, and I will not level up anymore. It's also going to be using up a lot of rune points to do a lot of these. Now, I can't make a platinum sword. Let's see. What do I have ingredients for? A crystal blade, 56. We'll make one. And you can see my skill doesn't go up. I can't get to 100. I can't get above 100 in this skill. Same goes for crafting, forging, cooking, and chemistry. These are all of your different item creation skills. It also applies to your resistance skills. So, resist cold, knockout, fatigue, sleep, paralysis, seals, poison, and so on. These skills are about resisting, you know, status effects. But as you can read, they improve by using those status effects or being affected by them. So, resist poison. If I poison an enemy, or I I get poisoned, I increase my skill. Same with seals, paralysis, sleep, fatigue, and cold, and knockout. Knockout is one you want to level by doing it and not by being knocked out. Knockout is, I am currently at over 10,000 hit points. If an enemy who has the feint ability, which is what it's going to read as on your gear as resist feint or cause feint. Let's see, do I have it listed on here? Yeah, so if you see on the bottom of my crystal blade here, feint attack. Or, let's see, this doesn't have a resistance on it. Or feint resistance, or so on. Feint, what that does is, if an enemy with feint attack hits me and it succeeds against my resistance, I would go immediately from 10,000 hit points to 0. I would wake up in the clinic immediately. It is an instant KO that sends you back. So you want to resist feint as much as possible. So the best way for you to level it is not to get feinted, but to cause it. Now, I will get into how you can put that on your weapons and inflict these in another video. But basically, through forging, there are certain items you can put onto your weapons. So again, you can see I have poison, seal, paralysis, sleep, fatigue, sick, attacks all at 40%, and faint attack at 4%. I created this weapon with a certain item in mind, and then I enhanced it further. So, those are the best ways to level those skills. But all of your skills, leadership, levels up whenever you have party members with you. It also levels, I believe, with your monsters, although that also raises taming. And the better you do the skills, the easier it is to do things. So, for example, the taming skill, let's see. I'm only at level 23. It's not great. If I level this up, it makes it easier for me to successfully tame a monster. There are tales of people in the post-game dungeon. There's an enemy that has really, really high defenses. Like, I can barely damage it with this weapon that you can see is doing over 21 to my 100 to my bonus attack. My attack rating with it equipped is 27,000 basically, or 2,700. And I can barely dent this enemy. But people have, because they have a high taming skill, will throw failed dishes at it to lower its hit points and automatically tame it instead. Because it's technically giving to get an item, and it doesn't have a favorite item. Bosses specifically have favorite items. I'll get into this more when I get to a taming video. But you have so many item chances to give items. You can chances to give an item before they just automatically stop as failing. It automatically fails. So with a boss like that, which has a specific item, you want to be like, okay, I can only deal with this boss once per day. I can only tame it once per day. I only have one chance per day, so I want to make sure that chance works. Leveling your taming skill. That's how you get things like the nine-tailed fox, which, big hint, loves the bell that it drops. So if I wanted to tame it, and I probably will do that for a video, once I find out where they are. Yep, 9 of them. I'll give 9 of these, take 9 of these with me to go tame that boss, save beforehand, of course, and then I'll try taming it. The higher my taming skill, the better that is. The higher my catching skill, the better chances of actually sealing down an enemy first thing, or instant catching it if I'm doing the charge up for the wanted monsters, and so on. So your skills improve, the skills themselves, they improve your attributes, they improve everything. They are just as important as your gear in making you be survivable in the combat and gaining new combat abilities as your gear itself is. And with that, I think that's a good basics guide to the skills of Rune Factory 5. Don't forget to smack that subscribe button with your weapon of choice, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of this video. What do you want to see more of? We're going to be hitting Rune Factory 3 Special in a few months when it comes out here in the West, and we're going to continue making guides for this, Portia, and more. In the meantime, though, I will catch you next time. See ya!